What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope things are going well for you. And we got to take a little bit of time to talk about this, I guess, because there's, I would say, at least some potential for this to become a bigger thing in the coming weeks, right? And there are a couple different angles that it needs to be digested from and discussed from. So I'll go into it the best that I can. But there are a few different ways in which you can address the DK Metcalf stuff this week. So let's just go through the actual facts here. On Sunday against the Bengals, DK Metcalf had an unnecessary roughness penalty when he slammed Cam Taylor-Britt to the ground. And that ended up being at least somewhat costly to the team. I don't think it was a huge deal because we picked up a first down on the very next play, but obviously 15 yards is 15 yards. Carroll came out after that game and said that they have a penalty board in the locker room, and DK Metcalf is at the top. He's been called for 5 penalties so far this season, and I don't believe that includes the play where he stepped out of bounds and then caught the ball. They just called that one incomplete, even though in effect it's basically a penalty. So Pete said that DK needs to clean it up and not commit so many penalties. And DK came back out not too long after and basically said, I'm not going to change the way I play, which is not how DK has typically addressed this stuff in the past. Usually he says, I'll get better, I'll get better, I'll fix it, I'll get better, I'll knock it off. This time he kind of came out and said, it's not going to change who I am as a player or a person when asked about it. There was actually an extended back and forth between reporters and DK talking about the situation. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but what he basically says is maybe there are some he minor adjustments he needs to make. Maybe there are some things he does need to clean up, but he doesn't want to change the way he plays football. Here's another page of questions and DK's answers. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can go ahead and pause it on those pages if you would like to. But the way that I see it, what DK Metcalf is essentially trying to convey here is that, yeah, the after the whistle stuff is bad. The stuff that is actually dirty or illegal is bad. But there are some things he's getting whistled for that he doesn't feel like he should get whistled for, and he feels like is just good football, and he's going to continue to do those things. So let me first just say, I get it. I totally get it from DK. I understand that perspective. Like, you take a look at the Cam Taylor-Britt play in the Bengals game, the play is, at least as far as DK can tell, still going, and he's blocking. Ultimately, he gets the penalty thrown on him because he did such a good job blocking Cam Taylor-Britt. Cam Taylor-Britt basically he goes into the ground like Charlie Brown style almost when he's flipping over after kicking the football. Like, he just dominates him physically so badly. And the Hawks Nest actually pointed this out when we streamed a couple days ago. DK kind of almost goes up to him and tells him, like, hey, dude, I'm about to start blocking you. Get ready. And then he starts blocking him. And he does such a good job doing it that it looks like a penalty. It looks much worse than it is. But realistically, DK is just trying to be a blocker. And this even goes back to week 1, where you had a similar situation where it's kind of on the line, right? There are some receivers out there that don't really block that well, that don't really try to block that well. And I feel like that's kind of become the norm in the NFL. So the few receivers in the NFL who do really put their all into blocking stand out like this because it almost looks like an illegal play or a penalty play because you don't see it on almost any other play. I understand that. I get it. Like, Tom Brady even had a comment about how he's looking at this Metcalf play against Cam Taylor-Britt and he's like, how is that a penalty? Why is this supposed to be a penalty? I don't think it's good that this stuff is getting legislated so badly. So I completely understand that angle. I'm not against Metcalf defending what he's doing out there. I mean, he's not trying to defend the stuff he does after the play's over. That's him getting hot. He even acknowledges this in the first page here. He says, have you ever had a bad day at work? Sometimes nobody's perfect. I'm my own person. I'm a competitive person. He acknowledges that he does make mistakes like this. He obviously made a mistake when he stepped out of bounds against the Giants before catching a pass. The face mask is a mistake. Now it's an honest mistake. I don't think he did anything wrong. He just grabbed a face mask. Stuff happens. I will say that I don't love the fact that he seems to be kind of going head to head with Carroll here. Like Carroll is saying one thing, and it almost sounds like he's saying, "No, no, I don't need to do that. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't care about no penalty board." That's almost like the stuff Russ was doing before he got booted out of town, where he would be like, "No, I think the thing I did here was okay," and then Pete would come out and say, "What Russ did on that play was not okay. That was a big mistake," and then Russ would come out and say, "No, no, 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 it was okay. I was right to do that." And well, there you go. So that part of it, yeah, that's not ideal. That's not what you want to see or hear from one of your star players. I'm a little worried about that angle of it. But here's the bottom line with this DK Metcalf stuff. Bobby Wagner touches on it here on this tweet from Greg Bell. He says he's pretty sure opposing defensive backs go up to officials before Seahawks games saying, "Watch 14, part of DK Metcalf's reputation around the league for extracurriculars and penalties at the end and after plays." So, bottom line is, DK can say what he's doing is good football, and he has a point. I'm not saying I disagree with him. He's trying to block, and he's just doing a really good job of it to where it looks like he's going over the top, looks like he's throwing a tantrum. But when you have a chance to sit back and think about it for a little bit, he's not. The play is still going, or at the very least, from his perspective, the play is going. It's not something where he's just hitting a dude because he wants to hurt him. It is part of football. It looks bad. It's not, but I understand all of that. And I'm not hating on Metcalf for saying that. However, the bottom line is this. The league is watching for this stuff now. Officials are plugged into this now. He has a bad reputation for committing penalties, and because of that, he is getting penalties thrown on him when they shouldn't be thrown. We saw this going back to last year against Tampa Bay, where there was this one play where he didn't do anything and got a 15-yarder called on him because he's DK Metcalf, and that's the expectation that people have. And I'm not saying that's fair. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that you should be happy about it and that you shouldn't do everything you can to try to get rid of that one way or the other, either by complaining to the league or going or trying to draw attention to it in the media or something. But this is a thing that is happening right now, and unfortunately, the only immediate solution is to stop doing it for a while. Keep it super clean. Don't do everything that you want to do when you're out there. Don't finish blocks with that degree of ferocity. Don't block close to the whistle. When it's close, maybe ease up a little bit. And that it sucks that I have to say that. It really does. I hate having to say that, but there's not much DK can do about this in the short term. Officials are watching him very closely right now, and the only way he's going to be able to mitigate that is to pull it back a little bit. And he already said he's not going to do it, but I don't know how that's going to fly if we're a month from now and he's still picking up a big penalty in virtually every single game he's playing. So, I'm sorry, but that's not going to work here. So, that's how I feel about it. I'm not mad at Metcalf. I think the people who are talking about trading him I think that's goofy. It's mostly impossible because of money, and he's far too good of a player to trade. You're not going to get enough back for him. Like, no trade you get for DK Metcalf right now is going to be anywhere close to his value to this team. People are going to look at his numbers and say, oh, well, he's barely a top 20 receiver. When we watch football, we know about his double team rates. We know about some of the things that he does that don't show up on the stat sheet. And we know about all the money we're going to owe him the next couple of years if we trade him. So you're not getting good value on a DK Metcalf trade. Get that out of your heads. If you're trading him, you're doing it Percy Harvin style almost. It wouldn't be that bad, but you would be doing it because he's so toxic you can't have him around. That is clearly not the case with Metcalf yet. We're not there yet. But I don't think this is going to go well with comments like this. You can't just say, well, the refs are out to get me, so therefore I'm not going to stop doing things the way that I do things because it's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair, but you're going to have to find a way to work around it. You can't just keep running into it like this. Now, don't get me wrong. The far bigger problem with Metcalf's game would be something like this play right here. I'm not going to show it, but it's Geno's second interception where Metcalf stops on his route and just watches Cam Taylor-Britt pick the ball off. This stuff is infinitely bigger of a problem than the occasional penalty that he picks up because he plays a little too hard. So DK even acknowledges this is totally his fault, which is good. So it does show that he's willing to accept fault when he feels like there is fault. But clearly and defensively, he feels like he is not at fault for what is going on with some of these penalties. And I'd like to say I can side with him 100%, but this is a thing that's happening right now. And unfair or not, people are not going to be happy if a month from now he's still averaging a 15-yard penalty every single game he plays. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos later. Should be streaming later tonight on Twitch. Probably more Spider-Man 2. Hope to see you guys there. And go Hawks.